You could just emailed it, you have email for a reason.
Fun fact, Daddy once found a whole bunch of archives of like our emails. I had like compiled it into one big email and sent it to myself. So
I did on a few occasions try to hint to them, but every time I mentioned it, they would kind of like just shut it down, and they were like, this is boy. Okay, in the first place, I think that it is not that I found Daddy. I think you have to kind of find each other, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Miracle.
Family. Welcome to episode 1 of the Miracle Family podcast. With me is my daughter, Ines, and my husband, Mark.
What's up?
And I'm Sarah X Miracle, and we are talking about parenting, relationships, and all kinds of things to do with the family with our teen daughter, Ines. And today we have a very important question that our daughter wants to ask us.
How did you find Daddy?
What do you mean, how do I find Daddy? Yes, what about the photo?
You see this photo?
Yes, what about Daddy?
You were so pretty.
Daddy, you were very pretty.
Look at his hair. It was so nice.
Basically, Ines is saying that there's nobody who's as pretty as her own dad. And that's the question. How do you find a pretty boy like Daddy?
Should I excuse myself?
Shout out to LFG Content Creation Company. Woo-hoo. They are one of Singapore's best podcast recording studios.
I'm loving the
as
lightsabers
you can see from
behind.
The beautiful light setup, as well as the quality of the production. I think it speaks for themselves. So if you need any kind of recording needs, not even podcasts, but they also do music, please look them up on Instagram. Okay, in the first place, I think that it is not that I found Daddy. I think you have to kind of find each other, right?
I guess.
So, context of how we met was that we were both in music in our different churches, but we had a common Methodist church organization, and they were having a talent time, and a bunch of my friends and I decided to participate as singers. In the end, the competition never happened, but they said, hey, we like you guys so much, could you come and do a kind of performance at our youth center? We're like, yeah, we're all singers, so we can't do a concert or a show or anything like that if we don't have musicians. And so this contact who was organizing the competition and in charge of that youth center was like, oh, I have musicians. I will get musicians for you.
Shout out to Reginald if you're watching this.
No, you were playing for them, remember?
Yeah, no, we were like a regular band. All volunteers, right, who would, give up their time some mornings to basically play, right? So there were 3 or 4 of us. So that's how
I
we met.
remember we went to the first rehearsal and Daddy was like the drummer in this corner. And he didn't talk to any one of us. So we all thought, oh my gosh, he's so dull.
Wait, the back context of that was before you guys arrived, we were there already. And then I remember because none of us were professional, so we agreed that we're going to try and be very, very professional because it's our real first professional gig, right? So I was like, okay, I thought professional meant that you're supposed to, not anyhow chit chat and stuff, right? So I was just, okay, I'll be kind of quiet and I'll wait before I speak, right? So apparently mommy likes the brooding types.
So Daddy had actually come to play at our school, which is a girls' school, for Trouble before. Yeah. And then he had done this solo on My Redeemer Lives on the drums, right?
Okay, with this part is new on it.
Yeah.
This part
No,
before.
so already when he came to the school, everybody was looking at him because and they were like, oh my gosh, the drummer has such a nice nose. I mean, I didn't know him then, but they were like, oh, this guy has a nice
Your
nose.
friends knew who I was. Because I was in the same church as one of the two
some
of your
of
friends.
my friends knew who Daddy was, but I didn't know who he was. Then we actually did the show lah.
We did the show.
Yeah.
And my first impression of Mummy was, wow, she's very tall.
I'm still very tall, I'm sorry.
And then nothing happened. It was not love at first sight, not like the movies. All right, kids, you're listening to that? No, I'm just kidding. But then it was Youth Day, right? And then somebody had this bright idea to hang out.
Of the other girls and
it's like, why don't we go
one
bowling?
of the other musicians decided to organize something.
And so
for us.
embarrassingly, Daddy actually skipped poly classes in the morning on Youth Day so that I could go bowling.
Oh my gosh.
Don't skip school, kids.
This was at the Cine Leisure top floor. Oh, then Daddy, he brought his sketchbook.
So I had
Daddy
a class where we were
studying
supposed to
visual
practice
communication.
sketching, and so I had gone to the park and taken some photos to use as references. And so I had that, and I was trying to practice the sketching because you need to hand these things up. So while waiting for my turn to bowl, I was like, okay I'd skip school, right? I need to do my homework. And then all my friends were like, hey, hello, can you please don't show off your artistic ability?
He was more or less showing off. Come on, you know you were showing off. He was just showing off his artistic skills, trying to impress all of us. with his artistic skills.
Impress
So
you. No.
yeah, so anyway. So Mami was taking art at that time already. So me and one of our other friends, we were actually in art. So we were like, oh, this is very cool because we had to learn how to do all this sketching stuff also.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so we were like looking through Daddy's sketchbook. So that was, wow, Daddy's quite talented.
Y'all just casually flip, flip, flip.
And then after that, because Daddy did not have a handphone, there was no way we were going to keep in touch, right?
I didn't have a pager.
Then by chance, some random friend looped us into one of those massive email chains. Basically, they would send out these massive email chains of these surveys about yourself. And then Daddy replied all and included me. And I was like, who are you? And he had no name inside.
Your email address also didn't have your name inside.
Yeah, my email was idangive@hotmail.com. And Daddy's was, I don't know, some French thing. Then so we started talking on email.
We just started talking on
So
email.
then how come you like me just from email?
I didn't. We started talking, we started sharing. The emails got longer and longer and longer and longer. We started sharing about past relationships that weren't really
Not really
You
relationships.
said Daddy was your first boyfriend.
Yeah. But like the
Yeah,
others
but
are
we
like
like other people,
I
but
like
like
you,
didn't work
you
out.
like me, but you don't like me, but I don't like you. That was the beginning.
Then at some point, we didn't even meet.
We kept up this email correspondence for a while.
Then after Daddy wrote me handwritten letters.
Did I?
Right? You started passing letters to
Your
our
friends.
common friend.
Mm.
Besides all these points, the question is how did I get Daddy? But I'm like, I don't really think that I purposely tried to get Daddy. I think any relationship is like a mutual process of getting to know each other firstly as friends and then
And then you suddenly realize, oh, wait, this can be more than friends.
ooh, this can be more than friends.
Okay, no, but then who decided that first? Like, who thought that first?
Daddy.
So you said I like you first.
Daddy.
You confess first.
Daddy.
I think so. I mean, I remember that I had a study trip to Vietnam and I woke up early one morning to go and find an internet cafe. Okay, kids nowadays, you have no idea what it
Internet
means
cafe,
to
my
have an
gosh.
internet cafe. The internet is here.
The internet was not on our phone last time.
Yeah. So I had to go and pay some cafe to use the internet and write Mummy an email to say, hey, I'm in Vietnam, you know.
Is that when you realized that you like me?
No, but I think by that time we had been communicating quite regularly, and so it seemed like you're the significant person in my life, right? You know, I don't think we had necessarily agreed that like you are my. You know, last time people would say, hey, will you go stead with me?
Oh my gosh, what an old school term.
Will you go stead? Yeah. Now I don't know what do kids say nowadays?
Nothing.
What do you mean? What do they say if they want to like confess or whatever?
I like you.
That's it?
Okay, so anyway,
I like you.
you know, it was a habit, right? I would email you very regularly, like I think almost every day or every other day. So, you know, I wait for your email and then I'll reply, right? So yeah, I remember waking up early one morning and like, you know, my friend bunkmate was passed out already. So I said, okay, I'm gonna find an internet cafe in the morning and then go and send Sarah an email. I think sometime in that year, 2002,
Don't know when. Very long ago.
I decided it was a very natural thing, you know, like I didn't kind of think about it like, hey, I want Sarah to be my girlfriend, so I will ask her. I never thought about it that way. Like it felt very contrived to kind of just say, hey, will you be my girlfriend? You know, what if the person is not ready, right? It needs to kind of like come out of a very clear, like you know in that moment that it's the time to kind of say, hey, I love you. I think I like you very much, right? So I think I wanted to feel as natural as possible. And even I think the day that I sent you a message with my dad's phone.
Oh my god, you
Yeah, because I didn't have a phone.
What did
No, so I sent the message and
then
I
you
deleted it. Yes.
You could have just emailed it, you know. You have email for a reason. You could have just emailed her.
Fun fact, Daddy once found a whole bunch of archives of like our emails. I had like compiled it into one big email and sent it to myself. So because all the email addresses
funny.
changed, right?
I lost all the Hotmail stuff also. I don't know
Yeah.
where all our emails are. But anyway.
But anyway,
Yeah, so that's the I love you anniversary that we talked about before. It's when Daddy sent me a text message on 14 October. Look at Ines's face now.
okay. So that's the
so
whole story.
That is kind of the story of
how I met your mother.
So then when do you officially start dating?
we didn't really have an official date because nobody else knew about us except our friends, sort of. We didn't tell Grandpa and Grandma or Opa and Oma.
Terrible.
So they didn't know. Da-na-na-na.
Da-na-na-na. But if all of you actually want to watch a longer part of our story, you can please go and find We Became Parents at 18 on our grandfather's story, because that entire process, it was very, very beautifully produced and edited by our grandfather's story about how we became parents at 18. And we did talk about that. So we won't repeat the entire story here. But I think for us, why we want to have these open conversations with Ines is so that, you know, we actually get to the point where we're actually involved, because our parents were very uninvolved and we thought that we couldn't even talk to them. I think...
They were not uninvolved.
Yeah, they were completely uninvolved. Oh my gosh. Until the point that they found out we were pregnant and they're like, what?
You had a boyfriend?
You didn't tell
What do
them.
you mean
We didn't tell them, right? Because of fear, because of, you know, we're both the first kids. We didn't have these kind of open conversations about relationships with Opa and Oma or Grandpa and Grandma,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So, and we definitely didn't do a podcast about it.
Exactly.
Do you think if you told Grandma that you're talking to Daddy, do you think if you're like, Mother, I think I like this boy, do you think she would have let you date?
I did on a few occasions try to hint to them, but every time I mentioned it, they would kind of like just shut it down, and they were like, who's this boy? Blah, blah, blah. And tell me like, no boyfriend till whenever. And like, I think at that time, they also probably didn't know how to handle it, because I'm like the oldest child, right? Because when I was in JC, they were like, they suspected that I was kind of like Daddy. And there was one time they even asked to meet Daddy, basically just to tell him, okay, stay with my daughter, kind of it, like something like that. Yeah. So honestly, after what happened to us, they became a lot more open-minded about relationships, and, you know, seeing that obviously it's probably better for, of course, also your auntie is a lot younger than me. She's 9 years younger than me. So I think they had a lot of time to reflect. Point is that, you know, our parents were not perfect. We were not perfect. Obviously, we also didn't do the right thing in the sense that of hiding the relationship. So we don't want to be in a position where we feel like our daughter has to hide things from us, right? It's very important, because we felt that we couldn't express how we truly felt. We couldn't even have proper open conversations about it. And that's the last thing that we want for our own children, because if our children feel like they have to hide something from us, then, you know, it might lead to disaster. It might lead to something that's not a good outcome. And in our case, I mean, I'm not saying that Ines is not a good outcome. I'm saying that, like, I mean, we ended up with a consequence that we did not expect, and we all had to deal with. And of course, God has redeemed our situation, etc. Yes, thank you, Jesus. Ines was actually a very good child, which we will talk about in other episodes.
So far.
I am the best.
This is the confidence she has as the first miracle child. Yeah, so I think our point is that, you know, part of the reason why we also want to have these podcasts is to show that you can have open conversations with your teenagers. You can have open conversations with, you know, your parents. And it is more helpful to have these open lines of communications than to try to hide them up. Well, I encourage you to maybe even listen to this podcast with your kids, and maybe you guys can have discussion points after that about what you thought about our story, our experiences, and Ines obviously has her own unique point of view that she's going to share. So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about what Ines thinks she would like out of a boyfriend after all these years of hearing us talk about it. All right.
Please.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
We all send each other WhatsApp decks or Telegram.
Telebubble.
What?
Yes.
What is it?
No, you know on Telegram, right? Then you can send the small telebubble.
I'm showing my
The one
age. I
with the
have
videos?
no idea what is
Is
a
it the one with the
Telebubble.
videos?
I'll send you a telebubble later.